Have you ever found yourself, or maybe someone you love, just staring at the ceiling at 3 a.m. wondering, why can't I just sleep through the night anymore? That feeling, that quiet desperation while the clock just ticks by, it's incredibly common.
It really is. So many people experience that, especially, as they get older.
Yeah, it's a shared experience for so many. If that sounds familiar, you are absolutely not alone. In fact, waking up in the early hours is probably one of the most widespread sleep complaints among older adults. Everywhere, really.
Definitely.
But here's the thing, and this often gets missed. These wake-ups aren't just random quirks. They're not just annoyances, or worse, some sign that something's wrong with you, like you're failing at sleep somehow.
Right. That's such an important point. It's easy to feel like it's a personal failing.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But the truly empowering part is understanding that your body, in its, incredible complexity and wisdom, is actually trying to tell you something important.
They're signals.
Yeah. Vital signals. Yeah. Quiet messages, maybe, from your physiology, or reflections of your daily habits, or even whispers from your emotional state.
It's like your body's trying to communicate.
Precisely. So our mission today in this deep dive is to really unpack those signals. We're going to explore 5 powerful and actually surprisingly common reasons behind these early morning awakenings.
Okay.
We'll dig into what they really mean for your physical health, what they might reveal about your daily routines, and how they connect to your emotional well-being, both now and, looking ahead.
Sounds good.
Our promise to you is this. By the end of this deep dive, you'll definitely see sleep, especially those before dawn wake-ups, through a whole new lens. A lens of understanding, maybe compassion.
Shifting the perspective.
Yeah, and perhaps, just perhaps, you might find a little more peace, maybe a clearer path forward the next time you find yourself up before the sun. So let's start exploring.
Great. Well, it's really remarkable how our bodies, they're so intricate and adaptable, but they do undergo these subtle yet pretty profound transformations as we age. And one of the most fundamental biological shifts directly impacts our sleep architecture, you could say.
Okay.
We're talking about the natural age-related decline in melatonin production.
Yeah.
Sometimes people call it the fading signal of sleep.
The fading signal.
Yeah.
Okay, so this isn't just about falling asleep quickly, it's more fundamental.
Exactly. It's about the very foundation of sustained, restorative rest throughout the whole night.
So let's delve into that science a bit. What's really happening inside our bodies here? When we talk about melatonin, it's way more than just a supplement you see on the shelf, right?
Oh, absolutely.
This is a fundamental hormone we make ourselves. Can you elaborate on what exactly melatonin is, how it works, and why it's so crucial? Not just for getting to sleep, but for staying asleep.
Yeah, definitely. Melatonin is often called the sleep hormone, and, for good reason. It's mainly produced by this tiny pea-sized gland deep in your brain, the pineal gland.
Okay.
Its primary job is basically acting as the main timekeeper for your circadian rhythm.
Yeah.
The internal 24-hour biological clock that orchestrates almost everything physiologically. When you feel sleepy, when you feel awake.
Right, the master clock.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So melatonin levels naturally start to rise in the evening, usually as darkness falls. This increase acts like a chemical signal to your body, telling it, okay, time to wind down, prepare for sleep. And then, and this is the crucial part for the 3 a.m. issue, to maintain that sleep throughout the night.
Ah, so it's not just the on switch.
Not at all. Think of it less like a sedative, knocking you out, and more like the master conductor of your sleep orchestra.
Okay, I like that.
It sets the tempo, making sure the whole symphony of rest plays smoothly right from the beginning all the way to the end.
That conductor analogy really helps picture it. So if it helps us stay asleep, then that connects directly to those 3 a.m. wake-ups, doesn't it?
Absolutely.
It's not just about hitting the pillow and drifting off. It's about keeping that deep, continuous sleep going through those really critical early morning hours. What exactly happens around, say, 3 a.m. when melatonin levels might be lower?
Precisely. For many older adults, the initial problem isn't falling asleep at all. They might drift off easily, feel quite tired, head hits the pillow, boom, they're asleep.
Yeah.
But the real challenge pops up a few hours later. While their pineal gland might have produced enough melatonin to get them started, by the early morning hours, usually around that 3 a.m., maybe 4 a.m. window, those melatonin levels have just dipped too low to keep that deep, solid sleep going.
Why do they dip so low? Is it just age?
Yeah, largely.
Yeah.
The pineal gland itself often undergoes this natural process of calcification as we age. It just becomes less efficient at making and releasing melatonin. So it's kind of like the conductor has quietly stepped off the podium, Or maybe the sheet music got too faint to read easily, and the orchestra starts to lose its rhythm, its coherence. And, well, you wake up.
And I guess when those melatonin levels are already kind of shaky, even tiny little external things could become major disruptions, things we wouldn't have even noticed when we were younger.
Absolutely spot on.
Yeah.
When your body's natural sleep signal, melatonin, is already at a lower level, you become incredibly sensitive, incredibly vulnerable to environmental triggers.
Like light.
Exactly. Even minimal light can be enough to just derail that already fragile sleep state.
Yeah.
And we're not talking bright sunlight here.
Right.
We're talking about, a sliver of light from a street lamp sneaking through the curtains, or the faint glow from a digital alarm clock.
Oh, yeah. Those can be bright.
Or the little notification light on your phone charging across the room. Even the standby light on a TV. These things seem tiny, insignificant, right? Especially light with blue wavelengths. A younger brain, richer in melatonin, might easily ignore them. But when melatonin is low, these lights are enough to activate special cells, photoreceptors, in our eyes.
And they talk to the brain.
Directly. They send a signal straight to the brain that actively suppresses any remaining melatonin and basically tells the brain, hey, maybe it's time to wake up.
Wow.
It's like that dimmer switch analogy we talked about. As we age, the bulb just isn't as bright, not as strong.
Yeah.
So even a tiny flicker of external light can feel like a floodlight, flipping that switch right off.
That dimmer switch idea really clarifies it.
Yeah.
So it's not just that there is light, but our sensitivity to it actually increases. This really fits with Harold's story, doesn't it? The 72-year-old from Michigan in our sources.
Yes, Harold.
He prided himself on being a good sleeper, which suggests, yeah, he probably drifted off fine. But then, boom, 3:15 a.m., consistently awake. His first thought was stress. Very understandable.
Very common thought.
But what this science tells us, what Harold's experience maybe really shows, is that it was more likely his natural melatonin decline that was the silent culprit. He wasn't necessarily stressed out specifically at 3:55 a.m. every night.
Probably not.
His body was just running low on its sleep-sustaining fuel, making him super sensitive to maybe tiny noises or, like you said, minimal light.
That's such a crucial distinction for Harold, and really for countless others experiencing the same thing. His mind might have been perfectly calm, but his body's internal chemistry was subtly changing gear, making it harder to stay asleep through that deepest part of the night cycle.
Right.
His experience really highlights that this isn't a failure on his part. It's not a sign he's doing something wrong. It's a natural, age-related biological shift affecting the quality and the duration of sleep.
And just understanding that, knowing it's physiological, must reduce some of the anxiety around it. Because worrying about not sleeping makes it worse, right?
Oh, absolutely. That's a huge part of it. If you know it's a biological shift, you're less likely to catastrophize, less likely to get stressed about it, which, as you said, often just makes it even harder to fall back asleep. It creates that vicious cycle.
Okay, so if you're listening and thinking, yeah, this sounds like me, these consistent 3 a.m. wake-ups, and you suspect it might be this fading melatonin signal, what specific practical steps can you actually take? How can you work with your body's natural changes?
Okay, so the main goal here is to really optimize your sleep environment to kind of compensate for those lower melatonin levels.
Right.
Firstly, maximize darkness in your bedroom. And I mean truly dark. Invest in some proper heavy-duty blackout curtains, the kind that block every single sliver of light from outside streetlights, car headlights, everything.
Okay.
Then do a little audit of your room at night. Look for any glowing alarm clocks, charging lights on phones or tablets, indicator lights on TVs or other electronics. Cover them up, unplug them if you can, or just use a small piece of black electrical tape. Even a tiny light can suppress melatonin when you're sensitive.
Makes sense. What about screens? We're all glued to them these days.
Yeah, that's a critical point.
Yeah.
Secondly, you've got to be incredibly mindful of screens before bed. The blue light they emit, phones, tablets, computers, even many modern TVs, actively suppresses melatonin production.
Right.
It makes it harder to fall asleep and harder to stay asleep. So aim for at least 60 minutes, though ideally 90 to 120 minutes of totally screen-free time before you actually plan to go to sleep.
What should you do instead?
Well, instead of scrolling or watching TV, transition to activities that don't involve a screen. Something calming.
I guess building a consistent routine around that helps signal sleep time, too.
Absolutely. Thirdly, implement gentle, consistent evening routines. This isn't about creating rigid, stressful rules for yourself.
Okay.
It's more about a set of calming activities that signal to your body and your brain, okay, we're winding down now. Maybe a short, gentle walk in the twilight hours. That can be a nice natural transition. Settling in with a physical book, not an e-reader with a backlight, can be really effective. Listening to a calming podcast, maybe some soft instrumental music, gentle stretches or deep breathing exercises are also excellent choices.
Right.
The aim is just to create a consistent, predictable pattern that reinforces the natural drop in melatonin and helps your body transition smoothly into sleep and then hopefully sustain it longer. The more predictable your routine, the more your body learns to anticipate rest.
It really sounds like understanding the why, that it's often a natural chemical change with age, is a huge relief in itself. It transforms what feels like this frustrating personal problem into just a physiological reality that you can actually manage proactively.
Exactly right.
It feels empowering to realize, okay, it's not just me, it's my biology, and I can definitely work with it.
Precisely. And like we said, that understanding reduces the anxiety.
Yeah.
Which is often half the battle with sleep issues. You break the cycle of worry. By acknowledging the physiological root, you can approach it with practical strategies, not self-blame.
So we've just explored those internal chemical signals, especially melatonin. But our body's internal clock itself, that intricate conductor of our daily rhythms, that also undergoes some pretty fascinating adjustments as we age, doesn't it?
It really does.
It influences not just when we can sleep, but when we naturally want to sleep and wake up, which leads us nicely to our next key insight.
Yeah, what's truly fascinating here is how our internal chronometer, our biological clock, it's located in a part of the brain called the suprachiasmatic nucleus, or SCN, subtly adjusts its timing over the years.
Okay.
And this brings us to the concept of a shifted sleep cycle, or maybe more formally you'd call it an advanced sleep phase.
Advanced sleep phase, so meaning it shifts earlier.
Exactly. It's a natural progression where our intrinsic rhythm starts to run a little bit earlier than it used to. And this impacts both when we start feeling sleepy and when we naturally wake up.
So basically, our bodies are getting sleepy earlier in the evening, and as a direct result, they just want to wake up earlier in the morning.
That's it in a nutshell. Yeah.
So it's not necessarily a problem, like an inability to sleep, but more like our whole sleep window is just shifted forward in time.
Precisely. Imagine your body has this finely tuned internal clock dictating your sleep and wake patterns, your circadian rhythm. As we age, this clock often experiences this advanced sleep phase.
Right.
This means your natural sleep onset, the point where you genuinely feel drowsy, ready for bed shifts forward, maybe to 9 p.m., 8:30 p.m., even earlier for some.
Okay.
Consequently, your natural wake-up time also shifts forward. So you might find yourself feeling incredibly sleepy by, say, 8:30 p.m., falling asleep easily. And then 6 or 7 hours later, your body has completed its full sleep cycle and is genuinely ready to be awake. And that often lands right around that 3 a.m. or 4 a.m. mark.
Okay, this sounds like a really crucial distinction then from what people typically think of as insomnia.
Yes, very important.
Because true insomnia, as I understand it, is more like a genuine difficulty falling asleep or staying asleep when you actually want to be asleep, usually because of some underlying issue or maybe racing thoughts.
Correct.
But this advanced sleep phase sounds different. It sounds more like your body has just recalibrated its optimal sleep window, and you've actually fulfilled your sleep needs just earlier.
That's a vital point to clarify, and it's a super common misconception. Many people automatically assume any early morning wake up is insomnia.
Right.
But true insomnia involves a struggle, a difficulty initiating or maintaining sleep, leading to distress or impairment during the day. Advanced sleep phase isn't really a struggle to sleep. It's more like the body completing its sleep cycle, just on a new, earlier schedule.
So if you go to bed at 9 p.m. and wake up at 3 a.m.,
you've potentially gotten a full 6 hours of sleep. And for many individuals, especially as they age, 6 to maybe 7.5 hours could be perfectly sufficient, especially if it feels like good quality, consolidated sleep, and you feel refreshed when you wake up. The problem often isn't the sleep itself, it's the timing of that sleep compared to when the rest of the world is operating, or maybe compared to your own previous habits or expectations.
So it's a mismatch.
Yeah, it becomes an issue of misalignment with social norms or personal desires rather than an actual lack of sleep quantity or quality.
And we see this dynamic playing out clearly with Charles, don't we? The 68-year-old retiree in Oregon from our source material.
Yes, Charles's story fits this perfectly.
His routine started shifting quite naturally after he retired, eating dinner earlier, winding down sooner. He found himself consistently feeling sleepy and heading to bed by 9 p.m. And then, like clockwork, he'd wake up around 3 a.m. His body had simply finished its night's work, completed a full sleep cycle.
Charles is really the archetypal example of this physiological shift blending with lifestyle changes. His retirement, while great in many ways, also removed the external cues. The work schedule, the commute that had previously anchored his sleep-wake cycle later in the day.
Right, the anchors were gone.
Exactly. He wasn't fighting sleepiness at 9 p.m. He was listening to his body's earlier call to rest. And because he was in bed earlier, his body, having gotten adequate sleep according to its new internal rhythm, just signaled time to get up before the sun did.
So it's not a pathology.
Not at all. It's a recalibration, a natural adjustment in his circadian rhythm.
Yeah.
The implication is, if he wakes up feeling refreshed, the problem isn't really the sleep itself, but maybe just his desire for a later wake-up time, perhaps to match social expectations or daylight.
This really opens up a powerful question then. If our internal clocks are shifting naturally like this, are we just stuck with this new schedule? Or can we actually, gently influence that timing? Can we nudge it back a bit?
We absolutely can nudge it. The strategy here involves gently, incrementally, trying to stretch your evening routine and also carefully managing your light exposure.
Okay, how does that work?
Well, if you're consistently feeling sleepy at, say, 9 p.m. and finding yourself in bed then, try to consciously stay up just a little bit later each night. Maybe start with just 15 or 30 minutes. Perhaps aim for an hour eventually.
Right.
This isn't about forcing yourself to stay awake until you're exhausted. It's about subtly delaying your sleep onset by providing some compelling but low stimulation reasons to stay awake.
What kind of activities work well for that? Things that won't just make you drowsier.
Excellent question. Instead of just heading straight to bed or passively watching TV where you might doze off.
Yeah, the couch snooze trap.
Exactly. Try activities that engage your mind gently. Reading a physical book under a warm, relatively low light is great. Maybe a relaxed, engaging phone call with a friend or family member. Listening to an interesting but not overly exciting audio story, or a calming, maybe intellectual podcast.
Okay.
You can even try a very gentle, short walk right after dinner, just extending your time being upright and active, delaying that deep evening relaxation cue just a bit.
And what about light? You mentioned managing light exposure.
Yes, light is the other crucial lever here.
Right.
Especially morning light. If you're waking up early, resist the urge to just stay lying in bed in the dark, frustrated.
Right.
As soon as you wake up, even if it's 4 a.m., expose yourself to bright light, ideally natural light. Open the curtains wide, step outside onto a porch or balcony for a few minutes if possible, or even use a specialized light therapy lamp.
How does that help?
That bright morning light sends a strong signal to your brain that the day has officially begun. And over time, this helps to gently push your entire circadian rhythm later. Conversely, in the evening, start dimming the lights in your home a couple of hours before your desired slightly later bedtime. Signal the approach of night.
So more light in the morning, less light in the evening?
Exactly. The idea is to incrementally push back that initial sleepiness cue and consolidate your sleep into a slightly later window. Small, deliberate changes here, done consistently, can make a really significant difference in shifting that sleep window later, helping you wake up closer to natural sunrise or whenever your desired schedule is.
That's a really powerful insight. Realizing you actually have some agency, you can gently guide your body's rhythm rather than just feeling like a passenger on this earlier schedule.
That makes a big difference psychologically, too.
Yeah, I bet. Okay, so we've covered the internal chemistry, like melatonin and the internal clocks, the circadian rhythm shifts. Now let's move to something a bit more tangible, maybe more obvious for some people. Something many of us experience more as we get older. Physical discomfort and various health interruptions that literally just pull us out of sleep.
Yes, this raises a profoundly important question. What about the physical realities? The aches, pains, and bodily needs that can and often do interrupt our sleep. As we age, our bodies inevitably experience more, wear and tear. Pre-existing health conditions often become more pronounced or noticeable. And these aren't just minor annoyances that you can easily ignore. They become significant, sometimes undeniable sleep disruptors, often making themselves known in the quiet, less distracted hours of the night.
We're talking about things that actually cause physical pain or create a physical need that you just can't ignore, right? Things that make it basically impossible to stay asleep, even if your melatonin levels were fine and your internal clock was perfectly aligned.
Exactly. The list of common culprits here is unfortunately quite extensive, and for many older adults, these become increasingly unavoidable parts of life.
Yeah.
Chronic joint pain, for instance. like arthritis.
Yeah.
That can make it incredibly difficult just to find a comfortable sleeping position and stay there. The stiffness, the ache, it can intensify in the stillness and maybe the coolness of the night, especially rousing you from sleep as your pain medication, if you take any, starts to wear off in the early hours.
Right. And acid reflux. I hear that mentioned a lot too.
Oh, definitely. Acid reflux, where stomach acid flows back up into the esophagus, is another major sleep disruptor. It often causes that burning sensation, heartburn, or maybe a persistent cough when you're lying flat, pulling you awake quite unpleasantly. And then there are medication side effects. Many common medications, especially those for chronic conditions like heart disease, high blood pressure, or even diabetes, can have diuretic effects, meaning they make you need to urinate more frequently, including overnight. Others can directly interfere with the stages of sleep, causing more wakefulness, or even contribute to things like restless leg syndrome, which is incredibly disruptive.
I know for many men, especially, that 3 a.m. bathroom trip becomes almost a universal experience, doesn't it? It's practically a rite of passage, but it's clearly a physical interruption to sleep.
It's a classic and very, very common example. The aging bladder, often linked to benign prostatic hyperplasia, or BPH, in men, means the bladder might not empty completely during the day, or its capacity might decrease. This leads to that frequent, urgent need to urinate.
And 3 a.m. seems to be a prime time.
Often, yes. It's frequently the peak time for that first nighttime awakening for urination, technically called nocturia. But it's definitely not just that. Other less common but still impactful physical disruptors include things like muscle cramps.
Oh, those are painful.
They can strike suddenly, often in legs or feet, and be intensely painful, waking you right up. Dry mouth is another one, sometimes caused by medications or just reduced saliva production with age. It can be surprisingly uncomfortable, enough to wake you needing a drink.
Right.
Even your sleep environment itself can become a physical factor. If the room is consistently too warm or too cold, or if your bedding isn't very breathable, it can trigger an awakening, especially when your body is naturally more sensitive to temperature shifts during certain sleep stages.
So it sounds like it's not always just one big issue. It could be a combination of maybe smaller physical discomforts that, when they pile up or maybe combine with a lighter sleep stage, or perhaps the wearing off effect of a daytime medication, they just become too much to ignore.
Exactly. It often reaches a threshold.
And I like how you're framing these wake-ups not just as annoying problems, but as the body's direct requests for attention and care.
That's the crucial reframing, I think. And it can be empowering. If your body is waking you up with pain or discomfort or a clear biological need like needing the bathroom, it's not just being difficult or malfunctioning for no reason.
Right.
It's sending a clear, albeit maybe inconvenient message. Hey, something over here needs your care and attention. It's really an opportunity to listen to those signals rather than just getting frustrated by them. It's a fundamental part of self-care, especially as we navigate aging.
This is perfectly illustrated by Ellen, isn't it? The 76-year-old from Texas in our sources. She experienced both of those really common issues we just discussed. Waking up at 3 a.m. needing the bathroom, which is so prevalent, but also specifically waking due to her arthritis discomfort. Her body was literally telling her two things. I need to empty my bladder, and my joints are hurting. I need you to shift or adjust.
Ellen's case is such a powerful example of how these physical issues often manifest and sometimes intertwine. Her experience really highlights the multifaceted nature of these sleep disruptions. It's often not just one single thing, but a combination that hits a critical point around that time of night. The bladder might be full, and at the same time, the pain relief from her evening arthritis medication might be wearing off.
Oh, okay.
That makes her more susceptible to waking up from what might have otherwise just been a lighter stage of sleep. These physical demands just become undeniable. They command her attention and prevent her from falling back asleep until they're addressed.
So what can we do then when our bodies are sending these really strong physical signals? If these issues, pain, bladder, reflux, are the culprits, what practical, actionable steps can listeners take?
Well, the first and probably most important step, really, is always to consult your doctor or healthcare provider. This isn't about trying to self-diagnose or just toughing it out.
Right.
It's about actively managing your underlying health conditions with professional guidance. Talk to your doctor specifically about your nighttime symptoms. Don't just mention the condition, mention how it affects your sleep.
Good point.
For medication side effects, ask them, is there maybe an alternative medication with fewer sleep disrupting effects? Or could simply shifting when you take certain medications minimize their nighttime impact? like taking a diuretic earlier in the day, perhaps. Or maybe adjusting the timing or type of pain medication so it lasts longer through the night.
Okay.
For chronic conditions like arthritis or acid reflux, your doctor can help refine your overall treatment plan, specifically to better manage those nighttime symptoms. Maybe adjusting dosages, recommending different medications, or suggesting specific evening strategies like elevating the head of the bed for reflux.
And for something like the aging bladder, or just managing fluid intake in general, what's the advice there?
For managing evening fluid intake, it's about being mindful of when and how much you drink, especially in the, say, 2 to 3 hours leading up to bedtime. You certainly don't want to dehydrate yourself. That's not healthy either. But maybe avoid large glasses of water, or definitely caffeinated beverages like coffee, tea, some sodas too close to sleep. A small sip, if you're genuinely thirsty, is probably fine. Also, limiting alcohol is key, as it can disrupt sleep architecture and act as a diuretic later in the night.
Makes sense. And optimizing the environment for physical comfort.
Yes, finally, optimize your actual sleep environment for physical comfort. This might mean investing in a more supportive mattress or pillows, especially if joint pain is an issue, something that promotes proper spinal alignment. Ensure the room temperature is consistently comfortable. Generally, sleep experts recommend somewhere between 67 degrees Fahrenheit, that's about 19 Celsius, not too warm, not too cold. Consider using breathable bedding materials like cotton or linen, especially if you tend to overheat.
Small details, but they add up.
They really can, especially when your body is already predisposed to waking due to underlying conditions. Even something like a white noise machine can sometimes help. It can mask smaller physical noises like maybe joints creaking when you shift, or even mild tinnitus that might otherwise pull you out of a lighter sleep stage.
That's incredibly empowering advice, actually. It reinforces that these physical wake-ups aren't necessarily a sign of failure or weakness, but they're really opportunities to adapt, to care for yourself in new, more targeted ways.
Exactly.
It's about proactive management and truly listening to what your body needs.
Absolutely. And remember, when you address the root physical cause, you're not just solving a sleep problem. You're actively caring for your overall health and improving your quality of life during the day too. It's all connected.
Definitely. Okay, so we've talked about what's going on inside our bodies, the chemistry, the clocks, the physical signals, but our daily rhythms, our routines, even our habits, they also play a huge and maybe often overlooked role in dictating when we feel sleepy and when we wake up. Let's talk now about how seemingly innocuous lifestyle habits, things we might not even think about, can subtly shift our sleep rhythm, often leading directly to those frustrating early morning wake-ups.
Yeah, if we connect this to the bigger picture, many of our daily habits, especially after significant life changes like retirement, or maybe even just a shift in work schedule, can subtly but profoundly dictate our sleep rhythms.
How so?
This is what we sometimes call the daily drift. How our days, if they become less structured, can inadvertently pull our sleep patterns earlier and earlier, often without us even realizing it's happening.
That makes so much sense because when you're working, you usually have a pretty set schedule, don't you? You have to wake up at a certain time, maybe commute, you have lunch around the same time, finish work, eat dinner. There's a natural rhythm and external structure imposed on you.
Precisely.
But after retirement, for instance, or maybe when a major life event removes that structure, it often just vanishes.
And that reduced structure is a major, often underestimated factor in sleep changes. Without the external demands of a fixed work schedule, a regular commute, or even consistent social engagements keeping you on a certain timeline, the body's natural sleep and wake cues can just begin to drift. Our internal clock, our circadian rhythm, really thrives on consistency. It loves strong cues from our environment, especially regular light exposure, consistent meal times, and fairly regular activity levels.
Okay.
When those cues become less defined, or maybe more erratic day to day, our circadian rhythm can become less robust. It kind of loses its anchor. And as a result, it often naturally shifts earlier.
Why earlier?
Because without strong signals telling it to stay awake and active later, the body often defaults to an earlier, perhaps more natural pre-industrial rhythm, preparing for rest sooner in the evening.
Interesting. So what are some of these specific contributing factors that cause this daily drift? I'm imagining things like maybe eating dinner much earlier than you used to.
Yes. Early dinners are a very common one. If you were used to eating at 7 or 7:30 p.m. and suddenly retirement means you're consistently having dinner at 5 or 5:30 p.m., well, that's a significant shift.
Right.
Your whole digestive process starts earlier, your metabolic processes begin their wind down sooner, and your body essentially starts its preparation for rest much earlier in the evening.
And what about nodding off in the evening, like in front of the TV?
Oh, that's another huge one.
Yeah.
Hugely common and often quite deceptive. Dozing off during evening activities like watching the news or a favorite show on the couch. You might think, oh, it's just a little cat nap. Harmless.
Yeah, just resting my eyes.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But if it turns into a 30-minute, 60-minute, or even longer doze, it can significantly reduce your sleep drive. That's the natural homeostatic pressure to sleep that builds up throughout your waking hours. If you reduce that pressure by napping in the evening, it makes it easier to fall asleep much earlier than intended when you finally do go to bed properly. And consequently, you're more likely to wake up earlier, having already fulfilled a chunk of your sleep need.
And I guess less exposure to natural sunlight during the day must play a role too, since light is such a powerful cue for that internal clock.
Absolutely critical. Natural light, especially bright morning light and even afternoon light, is paramount for setting and regulating our circadian rhythm. If retirement or maybe reduced mobility means more time spent indoors, less time actively pursuing hobbies outside, fewer errands to run, you're missing out on that vital light exposure that tells your body very clearly, it's daytime, be alert, be active. Without that strong, consistent daytime signal, your body might interpret the earlier dimming light of late afternoon as a much stronger cue to start winding down, effectively pushing your internal clock forward. Similarly, fewer social activities, which can be a common shift later in life, often means less mental and physical stimulation throughout the day. This can also contribute to feeling tired earlier in the evening, further accelerating that daily drift.
Wow, so all these factors, earlier meals, evening dozing, less light, less activity, they really combine, don't they? They create this kind of domino effect that just pushes that whole sleep window earlier, leading directly to those 3 a.m. wake-ups.
They create a powerful synergistic effect. It's often a gentle, almost imperceptible drift at first, but over weeks and months, it can solidify into a new, established, earlier sleep pattern.
Right.
The body simply has fewer compelling reasons, fewer strong cues to stay awake and active later into the evening. So it naturally opts for an earlier sleep onset, and by extension, an earlier wake-up time. It's actually a logical adaptation to a new, perhaps less structured daily routine.
Okay, let's unpack this a bit more then. How can we gently nudge our daily routines back to find a more harmonious rhythm? One that maybe aligns better with a later wake-up time, if that's what we want. Walter, the 74-year-old from Florida, seems like a perfect case study here from our sources.
Yes, Walter.
After he retired, his days became much less structured. He started eating dinner regularly at 5 p.m., found himself dozing off during the evening news pretty often, and was consistently in bed before 9 p.m. And predictably, 3 a.m. wake-ups became his norm. His new, less structured routine directly fed into this advanced sleep phase, this daily drift.
Walter's story is such a clear and common illustration of how easily our habits, even seemingly small ones, can inadvertently shape our sleep patterns. His retirement, while offering wonderful freedom, also removed that natural structure his body had been accustomed to for decades. The earlier dinner meant his digestive processes were finishing earlier, signaling an earlier wind-down phase. The evening dozing, while seemingly harmless, satisfied some of his built-up sleep drive, making him fall into a deeper sleep earlier once he went to bed.
Right.
And the early bedtime just meant he was simply done with his necessary sleep quota by 3 a.m., feeling ready to rise for the day, even if it was still pitch black outside.
So to counter this kind of drift and potentially shift that wake-up time later, what practical steps can listeners, maybe someone like Walter, take? How can you reestablish a more desirable rhythm?
Okay, so one of the first steps is to intentionally incorporate some regular afternoon activity, and ideally get it outdoors if possible.
Like exercise.
It doesn't have to be strenuous exercise.
Yeah.
Even just a short walk, some light gardening, or any outdoor activity in the late afternoon accomplishes two key things. You get that important natural light exposure and some physical stimulation. This signals to your body that the day is still active, and it can help push back the onset of that early evening sleepiness. Secondly, try consciously to keep your evenings engaging and reasonably bright, at least until closer to your desired bedtime.
What does engaging mean here? Not necessarily glued to a screen, right?
Right, definitely not necessarily screens. which we know can suppress melatonin. It could mean having social interaction, maybe playing a board game or cards with family or friends, engaging in a stimulating hobby that keeps you alert but isn't overly taxing, like knitting, model building, or playing music. Reading an engaging book under good light. The main idea is to maintain some level of mental and social engagement. Actively prevents that early evening dozing on the couch. Keep the lights on too, until maybe an hour or two before your target bedtime.
And what about those longer naps, especially the ones that happen later in the day? Are they working against us if we're trying to sleep later?
They absolutely can be. While a short strategic power nap, maybe 20-30 minutes max taken in the early afternoon, can actually be beneficial for some people. Longer naps, especially those taken in the late afternoon, or worse, after dinner, can significantly steal your sleep pressure. That's the pressure you need to build up all day to help you sleep soundly through the night.
It reduces the drive to sleep later.
Exactly. If you've napped for an hour or even 2 in the evening, your body might feel like it's already had a significant portion of its sleep. This definitely contributes to that 3 a.m. wake up, because you've reduced the necessary sleep deficit needed for a long, consolidated night.
Right.
The goal is really to accumulate enough sleep pressure during the day so that when you finally go to bed, you can sleep for a longer, more solid period. So these small conscious adjustments to daily habits, your meal times, your activity levels, your light exposure, your napping habits, they can really help your body reestablish a more natural and hopefully more desirable sleep-wake cycle that pushes that wake-up time closer to dawn.
It sounds like it requires consistency, though.
Oh, absolutely. Consistency is key.
Right.
But the results can be really profound over time.
That makes perfect sense. It's like gently retraining your body's schedule through these consistent small choices, reinforcing new cues day after day.
Okay, so we've covered the body's chemistry, its internal clock, its physical needs, and even our daily habits. Now, let's shift focus to something that often gets overlooked, but can be incredibly powerful, especially in the quiet stillness of the early morning hours.
Yeah.
Our emotions and our psychological state. This is about what you call the heart's quiet conversations.
Yes. What's truly fascinating and sometimes challenging, here is how the quietude of the early morning, particularly that 3 a.m. hour, can become this profoundly resonant canvas for our deepest emotions and our unspoken thoughts. In the profound stillness of that time, with absolutely no distractions from the busy day, our minds can sometimes become this involuntary stage for emotional and psychological restlessness. It's often where some of the most significant inner work actually happens, whether we consciously choose it or not. So it's not just external noises like a car alarm or physical discomfort like arthritis pain, but our own internal world, our thoughts, our feelings that can be the thing keeping us wide awake.
It sounds like the mind is finally getting its chance to speak uninterrupted.
Exactly. During the day, we're often so immersed in activity. Our minds are constantly engaged with tasks, conversations, errands, social interactions, just endless sensory input.
Right. This busy.
And these activities act as a kind of constant buffer. They often unconsciously suppress or just delay the processing of deeper emotions, maybe unresolved issues, lingering regrets, or those quiet worries that hum in the background. We simply don't have the mental bandwidth, or maybe just the quiet space, to fully acknowledge them during the day.
But when the world outside goes totally silent and our bodies are still and resting, that buffer just disappears. Poof. And the profound stillness of 3 a.m. can suddenly bring up old emotions, resurface feelings of loneliness, trigger anxieties about the future, or even just a general sense of unease that might have been simmering beneath the surface all day long, just waiting for an opening to be heard.
So these are the moments when our minds really start to wander, often to places we might unconsciously try to avoid during the daylight hours, when we feel more in control or just have more distractions. It's almost like the mind during the day has this full inbox of distractions and tasks, but at 3 a.m., with everything quiet, it finally has the chance to open those urgent emotional emails it's been filing away all day. Is that a fair way to look at it?
That's a very, very apt metaphor. The mind is essentially trying to process what it couldn't or perhaps wouldn't deal with during the busy day.
What are some common triggers for this?
Common triggers include things like deep-seated loneliness. This is especially common after the loss of a loved one, or maybe when children leave home, creating an empty nest, or any significant life change that reduces social connection. Also, reflections on past life events, decisions made, opportunities missed, lingering regrets. These can suddenly feel much more immediate and poignant in the quiet of the night, sometimes replaying over and over like a broken record.
Yeah.
And then, of course, there are the unspoken worries. Worries about your own health, financial security, the well-being of family members, or just a general uncertainty about the future. These thoughts and feelings, while perfectly normal and valid to experience, create a significant amount of mental activity and emotional arousal.
So your brain gets busy.
Your brain starts churning. It starts problem solving, replaying scenarios, often getting stuck in a repetitive loop. And that level of mental engagement makes it incredibly difficult to simply drift back off to sleep, even if your body is physically exhausted. It's like trying to quiet a really busy internal dialogue that has finally found its spotlight in its audience.
This is so beautifully and poignantly illustrated by Gloria's story, isn't it? The 80-year-old from California in our sources. Her personal context is incredibly touching. The loss of her husband a few years prior.
Yes, Gloria's situation is very relatable for many.
She keeps herself remarkably busy during the day, which makes perfect sense as a coping mechanism, right? A way to stay engaged, maybe distract herself from the grief.
Absolutely, a very common strategy.
But then at 3 a.m., when the world is quiet and she's alone in her bed, her mind just fills with those cherished memories, but also the quiet worries of life without him. She's not experiencing a physical pain, necessarily, but a deep emotional ache that surfaces when all the daytime distractions just fade away.
Gloria's experience is deeply resonant, and it really highlights the profound impact that unresolved or perhaps just unacknowledged emotions can have on our sleep. Her daytime activity, while probably very beneficial for her overall well-being and mood during the day, serves as a temporary diversion, a way to manage her grief and her anxieties during her active hours. But in the vulnerability of those pre-dawn hours, when the world is silent and she's alone with her thoughts, those significant emotions, her loss, her memories, maybe anxieties about her future without her husband, they have this uninhibited opportunity to just surface.
Right.
Her mind becomes active, maybe with vivid memories, maybe with what-ifs, maybe just with a general sense of sadness or existential reflection. This emotional processing creates significant mental arousal that simply prevents her from drifting back to sleep easily. Her body might be tired, but her mind is having a really important, albeit sometimes difficult, conversation that demands her attention.
So what does this all mean then when your heart and your mind are having these deep early morning conversations? If you find yourself in Gloria's shoes or maybe grappling with your own quiet worries or regrets at 3 a.m., what are some practical steps you can take? How do you manage this internal dialogue without letting it completely derail your sleep night after night?
Yeah, this is perhaps the most delicate area we've discussed because it touches on very personal feelings and vulnerabilities, but there are definitely things you can try. One highly effective practical step can be to keep a journal and a pen right by your bed.
A journal at 3 a.m.
Yeah. The simple act of externalizing these thoughts and worries, just writing them down as they surface, getting them out of your head, can often help diffuse their power. It's almost like you're transferring them from your active, churning mind onto the paper. It signals to your brain, okay, these have been acknowledged, they've been recorded. We don't need to keep endlessly replaying them or worrying about them right now. Some people find it helpful to specifically write down a worry list or a to-do list for the morning, just to park those thoughts somewhere.
That's a great practical tool, giving those thoughts a temporary home outside your mind, so to speak. What about creating some kind of calming ritual, maybe one that acknowledges these feelings without trying to just shove them down?
Exactly. Implementing a calming evening ritual that prepares your mind, not just your body, for rest can be very helpful. This could involve listening to soft, calming music, maybe instrumental pieces, nature sounds, or perhaps a relaxing audio story, something that engages your mind gently but doesn't stimulate it too much or require active problem solving.
Okay.
For someone experiencing loneliness, like maybe Gloria, having a comforting phone call with a loved one or a good friend earlier in the evening, rather than leaving those feelings unaddressed until the quiet of the night, can be profoundly helpful. It helps process some of those emotions before you even get into bed.
Practicing some gentle mindfulness, or maybe a simple gratitude exercise just before lights out, can also help anchor your thoughts in the present moment and perhaps in more positive feelings, rather than allowing them to drift off towards anxieties about the past or future.
That makes sense.
And here's the really crucial insight, I think. It's a bit counterintuitive, maybe. The most effective strategy often isn't about fighting these feelings. Trying to fight, suppress, or ignore these difficult emotions often just makes them stronger and more persistent in the long run. Instead, the strategy is more about honoring them, acknowledging them, giving them a moment, but perhaps in a more constructive and controlled way.
How do you do that without letting them take over? By doing things like keeping that journal or having that calming ritual, you're essentially creating a designated, safer space for these quiet conversations to happen, but in a less disruptive manner than having them ambush you at 3 a.m. Paradoxically, honoring these feelings, acknowledging their validity rather than resisting them, can actually lead to a deeper sense of peace. And that can make it much easier to return to sleep, or at least navigate the period of wakefulness with greater calm.
So it's about cultivating emotional resilience and self-compassion.
Precisely, especially in those vulnerable moments. Understanding that these feelings are valid, even if their timing is really inconvenient. And of course, if these feelings are persistent, overwhelming, and significantly impacting your life, seeking support from a therapist or a counselor can be a profoundly powerful and important step.
That really resonates, this idea that these are deeply personal, valid experiences, and addressing them, even if it feels uncomfortable at first, can be a powerful step towards not just better sleep, but actually greater emotional well-being, and maybe even a richer inner life overall.
Exactly. It's a profound act of self-care, really.
Okay, so let's try and bring this all together. By now, you can probably see that waking up at 3 a.m., well, it isn't just some random nuisance. It's actually a pretty nuanced and often profound message coming from your body and sometimes your mind. We've explored 5 really powerful reasons that can contribute to these early morning wake-ups. And each one offers a unique insight, doesn't it, into what might be going on beneath the surface. It helps transform what feels like just a frustrating symptom into a potentially meaningful signal.
Yeah, we've delved into those natural shifts in our hormones, specifically that age-related decline in melatonin production, which can just make it harder to sustain deep, solid sleep through the whole night.
Right.
We also explored how our internal clocks, our circadian rhythms, can subtly change with age, sometimes leading to that advanced sleep phase where our bodies simply complete their sleep cycle earlier, shifting our natural wake-up time forward.
And the physical stuff.
Then yes, we examine the tangible physical realities. How health needs, like chronic pain or acid reflux, or that aging bladder we discussed, can unequivocally call for attention in the quiet of the night.
And our habits.
And we also discussed how our daily routines and lifestyle habits, especially maybe after retirement or with less daily structure, can inadvertently cause our sleep rhythm to drift earlier.
And finally, the emotional side.
And finally, yes, we explored that rich, sometimes intense landscape of our emotional and psychological well-being, how the quiet hours can become a canvas for our deepest thoughts and feelings. Everything from loneliness to lingering worries.
So the core takeaway here, I think, is actually deeply empowering. It's that each of these reasons, each of these potential 3 a.m. wake-ups is really a reminder that you're still adapting, you're still growing, and you're still deeply connected to your own unique, evolving rhythms.
Yeah.
It's not necessarily a problem that needs to be fixed in the sense that you're broken, but maybe it's more like a set of signals that need to be understood, decoded, and then responded to with intention and care.
That really does shift the perspective entirely, doesn't it? Instead of viewing these wake-ups as just this frustrating problem or an annoyance, or worse, like you said, a sign of personal failure, we really encourage you, the listener, to try and see them as maybe gentle signals, or even as valuable opportunities.
Opportunities? How so?
Opportunities or invitations, perhaps, to listen more closely to your body and mind. To adjust your environment, maybe, to refine your daily habits, or simply to care for yourself in new, more attuned ways that match where you are in life right now.
I see.
It's a really transformative insight, I think. It reframes that middle-of-the-night annoyance into an invitation for deeper self-awareness and proactive self-care, which ultimately can lead not only to more peaceful nights, but also to more vibrant days.
Thank you so much for joining us on this deep dive today, exploring why older adults so often wake up at 3 a.m. We truly hope this exploration has given you some valuable insights, and perhaps maybe a new sense of peace, or at least a clearer path forward the next time those early morning hours arrive for you.
Yeah, and if you found this deep dive helpful, please do consider subscribing to The Deep Dive wherever you get your podcasts. Maybe share it with someone you know who might benefit from hearing this conversation. And if you're able to, leaving a comment or a review with your own experiences or tips is always appreciated.
Absolutely. Your engagement helps us immensely. Your support truly helps us keep bringing you the kind of wisdom and guidance you deserve, allowing us to continue these deep dives into the topics that really matter most to your health and your well-being.
And just remember, every stage of life brings new rhythms, and it brings new signals from your body and mind. Listen to yours with compassion, honor your needs with intention, and rest well.
Until next time, take care of yourself and take care of those you love.